So I think this is part of NFA, of your book. So forget being right, forget about achieving. Shouldn't we have an end goal for creativity?
Well, should is a tough word, you know.
We're shitting all over ourselves?
Yes, we're shitting all over ourselves, thank you. Creativity, just like pretty much everything else in life, is whatever you want it to be. You can have huge goals of the Hollywood blockbuster, and that's great. That's a big goal. Very few people every year, you know, out of everybody in the world, hit those kinds of goals. But your goal can also be just being creative. So I just saw this movie called Patterson a couple months ago. It's about a bus driver in Patterson, New Jersey, named Patterson, who is also a poet. And this guy just goes through his life, and he's got a little black notebook, and he writes little poems as he goes through his days. He's driving the bus or having his lunch or whatever. And it was so beautiful to watch this movie because it reminded me that the world is beautiful and lyrical and magical if you point your brain in that direction. So I copied my buddy Patterson and got me a little black notebook. And now I'm running around with this black notebook and I'm writing a little poem every day. And I'll tell you what, it changes your mind. It makes you see and perceive the world differently, right? It makes your life into a poem. And that's fucking cool. Yeah.
I'm thinking of Charles Bukowski and how his daily life fueled a lot of what he wrote because he was very frustrated working at the post office, and some of his relationships, I guess, were a little tumultuous. But do you think that's enough for a lot of people? Because then once he did get this benefactor, or there was somebody that ended up hiring, you know, said, I'm going to give you $100 a month, or I don't want you to work there anymore. I want you to write, and I'm going to pay for that new lifestyle. Do you think that was enough? And do you think that'd be enough for most people?
I have no idea what's enough for most people. But what I do know is that, you know, we create our own realities. And if you must have success on this massive level, you're kind of asking for trouble, because that's what I did, right? I wanted to be, you know, a multi-million selling rock star. And I worked really hard for a long time at that. And I never got there. And that always created a huge amount of friction within my heart, within my soul, within my anxiety and all that kind of stuff. But you don't have to do that. That's just a choice. If your choice is to be creative because you love to be creative, just be creative. So I've got this new thing going. I talk about it on one of my blogs. It's called The Pure Joy. And it is literally doing something, whether it's creative or not, for the pure joy of it. There is no other reason not to go on social media, not to make a buck, not to impress your friend, all these kinds of things. Just to do whatever this is for the pure joy. And if you can genuinely do that, believe me, it's enough.
So was music enough in that sense, or did you realize there were other things that actually brought more joy because you didn't have attachments to the outcome?
I am fortunate enough that I love a lot of things. And I love music, listening to it and playing it, writing it, recording it, all that kind of stuff. I love teaching it, of talking about it, you know, whatever, all these things. But also poetry. I'll sit around and, you know, write poetry or talk about the beauty of poetry, or movies or screenwriting, all these different things. So, you know, for me, they just bring different elements of that creative puzzle together. And for me, like I said, with this whole notebook and Patterson stuff, I'm on this trip now where I'm just writing a poem a day, every single day, just because I love doing it, because it makes me look at the world in a magical, poetic way. And that's what I want. I want to live in that world.